mean, you talk about kind of understanding of economics being quite debased in society, partly because of mainstream economists and partly because of central banks and people who speak about it a lot of the time. How does that relate to the current moment with tariffs and Trump and
really
the very fact that there is very little understanding of trade balances versus,
current account balances and all that sort of stuff.
I mean, how does it relate to that, the fact that nobody understands the reality?
I think it's a really good question. So again, this is where I come back to. I've always believed that economics is really important, and it's something that we should teach kids very, very young. Now, one thing that always intrigued me, when I was a kid in Ireland, I'm not sure it was the same in South Africa, we used to play football cards. So my mum was a school teacher in a different school, so she used to drop me early. So I'd be one of those swatty fellas early in the freezing cold, and they've a line of bags, right, to wait to go into school. So we'd arrive about 8:30 and the school would open at 9 o'clock. And all the kids would play football cards. Like, I'll give you 2 Man United for 1 Liverpool, blah, blah, blah. Now, it always intrigued me what those boys and girls were doing then. And I'm sure it's the same in South Africa. Kids play these games, right? They were playing economics. Right?
Yeah, for sure.
They were playing demand, supply, shortage, price. They were feigning, ooh, I don't want a Liverpool centre half for your 2 Man United. Right? They were feigning. They were playing economics. Somewhere along the way, we taught economics out of these kids. So when they arrive in university and I get them, they think it's really hard. They knew what it was at the age of 7. They understood. Nobody taught them these games. They understood commerce. They understood how the whole thing works. So what did we do? We took that beautiful part of their brain that naturally, impulsively, willingly embraced understandings of the basic tenets of this subject, and we destroyed it through education.
We interposed a new language on top of it.
Exactly. We put new language. We put a barbaric, offensive language above it, which scared the kids, so much so that they come to university with me and they're terrified of it. And we need to reverse that, because we can only, as a society, move forward and learn and understand tariffs and trade and all that stuff if we have this basic knowledge, which we have when we're 7. That's my point. We have it. And the reason I think we have it, I think money is almost instinctive now in humanity. Like, it's not, like, I'm not talking about some sort of theory about language where you have the Noam Chomskys of this world. So it's instinctive. But there is something that very young children understand about economics that they don't understand about physics. They don't understand about mathematics. They don't understand about actually language. But they understand about economics. You can see it in the playground. And we've destroyed that by being anti-joyful, right? So I think what I've tried to do with everything I've done over the last 30 years is to bring that simplicity back, without being too simple, but to bring the simplicity back. And then you get to the point of tariffs. So, a tariff is a tax on consumption, number one. And that tax is going to go to a second-rate producer, number 2. Okay. So typically a tariff, so for example, there's a reason Americans, Dave Chappelle, the American comedian, put it very well about Nike. He says, I want to wear Nike, not make them, right? Okay, he said, if the people in other countries want to make Nikes, I am benefiting from this, right? So once you tax consumption, you will protect industries that are second rate. And the reason you know they're second rate is the people haven't chosen them in the first place, willingly. That's the first thing. The second thing is you will create inflation, because your country, even if it is the United States, which is an extraordinary economy, cannot recreate these factories, these products overnight. So there's an interregnum where inflation is going to be very high. And the problem with inflation is a tax on poor people, not rich people. And the reason is the following, that what we see is the way we measure inflation is through a basket of goods. This is the basket of goods the average person buys every week. It is biased towards essentials, foods, these sort of things, energy, whatever. Poor people spend a much higher percentage of their income every week on stuff than rich people, which is why rich people have savings and poor people don't. If you increase the rate of inflation, you're taxing the poor people on a massive percentage of their income, where the rich people's income It's the same tariff, but because their income is so much more, their standard of living isn't affected, right? So these are really important ideas to get across to people. And then you think, okay, so if the rate of inflation goes up, poor people suffer much, much more. How long does it take for the economy to respond? It takes decades for an economy to cultivate new industries. And then you think, okay, well, what is actually going on here? What is actually going on here? It is a man of rather limited intelligence, beholden to the notion that somewhere out there is an enemy of America, and it looks like an Asian person now. And he is trying to conscript the rest of the world into this battle. Now, does he have a point? Yes, he has a point at a certain stage that the United States needs to re-energize its manufacturing base, that the United States cannot indefinitely run large deficits without the dollar being undermined, that the United States needs to figure out a way of paying its now 100% of GDP debts, which is a figure, an eye-watering figure of $36 or $7 trillion. Now, if the rate of interest is going to go up on that, they've got a serious problem. So I would say that it would be great if people could make these little jumps, you know, and that comes down to education. And every school kid should be able to do this.